Tonight's actually a very beautiful topic, the manifestations of Lord Narayana, um, but also the qualities of a bhakta, which are very important. You know, a person who is centered in Kriya Yoga. The last three Vedanta satsangs that we've gone through have begun with the Bhagavatam, the first two, and then the third one was about the Guru, because Sage Suta was praising his Guru, whose Guru Sukadev. So we're moving forward tonight with the manifestation of Lord Narayana. So, you know, we chant Om Namo Narayanaya, Sriman Narayan. In Canto 1, Chapter 3, Verse 1 of the Bhagavatam, it talks about the manifestation of Sriman Narayan. Where did he come from and how did he become into that form? And it's very, very beautiful and very, very powerful. Sage Suta said, in the beginning of the creation, the Lord first willed himself into the universal form of the Purusha, incarnation, and manifested all the ingredients for the material creation. He began with the creation of the 16 principles of material action, and this was for the purpose of creating the material universes. In the beginning of the creation, you know, it is said the creation, not creation, because the Lord himself willed himself, you know, not he manifested, he willed. So through his divine power, he created all that we know. He created the universal form of the Purusha. He created the universal form of Sriman Narayan lying on Adishesh in Vaikunt. And there's a thing in Sanatana Dharma where we say it's achintya. Achintya means it's inconceivable, because for your brain to perceive this and understand it, it's not possible. You understand, how can a formless form aspect of the Supreme will himself to create the Purusha Sriman Narayan form lying in Vaikunt? It's beyond understanding. It's beyond achintya with the mind. You know, it's inconceivable for the mind. And the Lord first willed himself into the universal form of the Purusha Sriman Narayan, and he did this with the ingredients of the material creation. You know, he manifested all the ingredients for the material creation, and he began with the creation of the 16 principles of material action. And this was for the purpose of creating the material universes, because the universal form, which we'll talk about now, which Krishna shows in the Bhagavad Gita in chapter 11, the Vishwarupam Darshan, it's terrifying for our mind. It's terrifying for our consciousness, because we cannot fathom. And I always say, you know, God consumes everything. He is everything. Now imagine you can't put a pin through any space of time or any piece of existence without touching God. Yeah, it's not possible. So can your mind truly comprehend this? Can your mind truly comprehend that the Lord is beyond limitations? Although he limited himself per se when he came down into the form of Sriman Narayan, he is beyond limitations, because he, in the form of Sriman Narayan, he is limitless and he has some limitations. It's achintya, it's not possible to conceive. And that's why in order to perceive God, you have to go beyond the mind, you know? These 16 creations, these 16 material manifestations that he did, all of the divine incarnations of Krishna, Ram, Babaji, they all have 16 manifestations. The mind gets very technical and says Ram has 12, Krishna has 16, for example, but all are equal at the end of the day. There isn't one that isn't equal. But the mind continuously needs a duality. It needs a duality because inside of that duality, it can grab onto something. And that's why you can never truly comprehend God with the mind. It's simply achintya, inconceivable. It's said that the true form of the Lord is beyond form, and it has form at the same time. Sriman Narayan, when God manifested him into manifestation in Vaikunt, it allows us to start to have a divine relationship with God, this devotion. And that's one of the reasons why God manifests for us in a physical form, so that you can start to have a material relationship with God. Even the Advaitists who believe in a formless form of God, they actually worship forms of God to have a relationship with God. So it's not like they don't have a relationship with God. They actually worship Guru Appan and Guru Vayu. All of South India, for example, even the Shiva Bhaktas who are Advaitists, they worship the lingam. Yeah. But in order to see God in this form, we discussed it last week, you have to have this divine sight. And it's said in the Guru Gita, the Guru is the one who, through his grace, removes the ignorance from our eyes with the divine carilium. Yeah. So that we can have this divine sight. Because remember in chapter 11, verse 8, it says, Natu mam sakshayes drashtum anevaswa chakshusa divyam dadamit che chakshuha pasyame yogam aishvaram. What you have to see, this your human eye cannot grasp. But there is a divine eye, an innermost seeing, and that eye I now give to you. Behold me in your divine power. So now Krishna and Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita are standing on the chariot. And Krishna has led Arjuna to a point where he is surrendered enough at this point to have this divine sight given to him. So that when he talks about in this first verse, in the beginning of creation, the Lord first willed himself into the uniform of the Purusha. Krishna says, I will now show you the form beyond the Purusha, Arjuna. I will show you the Vishwarupam. Yeah. And this rare sight that was given to Arjuna, it's not just like, okay, yes, I like you, etc. Yeah. Chapter 7, verse 3 of the Gita, as we discussed last week, it says, out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection, and those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. One may endeavor for perfection, and those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. Being on the spiritual path, it's a beautiful thing. It's always a reflection of our consciousness and stuff. And this consciousness that we have, it's the endeavor for perfection. And what is the perfection? Yeah. And the 16 qualities that are spoken about in the Bhagavatam, and then also the qualities in the Bhagavad Gita that we'll go through now, you'll see the qualities that we have to start to manifest. And we do this through our sadhana, our practice of purification. Because in the chapter 11, verse 52 to 54, Krishna says, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, the greater form that you have seen is only for the rarest, the highest souls. The gods themselves ever desired to look upon it. Nor can I be seen as you have seen me, by knowing the Vedas or austerities or gifts or sacrifice. It can be seen, known, and entered into only by the Bhakta, the one with devotion, who regards and adores me and loves me alone in all things. This devotion, it allows us to have this deep relationship with the divine, where God, when you're in a relationship with somebody and this devotion is there and this love is there, the reciprocation is they want to manifest for you and show you everything. It's like that in a human relationship as well. You want to be together. So, and God is saying, yeah, this Vishwarupam form, this form beyond the Purusha, it is so rare that the gods, the demigods, the saints, they all long to have this darshan, but only the rarest of the rare can actually see it. Only bhakti alone can give this divine sight. Yeah. It's not just like, oh, okay, you're going to have this sight now, it's cool. The spiritual path, Kriya Yoga, is there to purify us. It's there to burn us. It's the fire, it's the yagna, it's the sacrifice that we're doing continuously to ourselves to get rid of the ego, to get rid of the demonic qualities that we'll talk about now, so that your bhakti, this devotion, this relationship with God can be at its purest form. There's nothing else needed, Anything else is basically you are just distracting yourself. And that's why sadhana is so, so important, because sadhana slowly, like this purification, we say yagna, we do a fire sacrifice, but the Kriya Yoga is also a yagna. It's a sadhana yagna. It's a sacrifice that we make continuously to purify ourselves so that we can become these 26 divine qualities that are mentioned by Lord Krishna. Because, you know, this lifetime that we have, we always discuss it and we always say, you never know what's going to happen in your next life. You're not going to have the same consciousness. You're not going to have the same understanding. You're going to have to start from scratch again. So what are you going to do? You understand, you're not going to, all the realizations, all this grace, all this love that you have, you're going to have to re-realize it in your next life. And there's a beautiful story of a king. He opens up his kingdom and he says once a year, all of those who in my kingdom, you can come into my kingdom, and those who reach me by the time the gates close after an hour, they can stay, or they reach me in the first 15 minutes. Once the gates close in an hour, when I push everybody out, you can stay in the kingdom with me forever. So the time of the opening of the gates come, and all of his the people on the outside of the kingdom, they came up to the king, the gates of the kingdom, and the king said to his soldiers, he said, look, open the gates now. So soldiers opened the gates, and everybody's like piled in, and this happened year after year after year. Everybody piled in, but the king's kingdom inside the walls was enormous. And inside there he had such great things. He had trees that not everybody had seen, with fruits and delicacies. He had animals in there that nobody understood, etc. And it was like, wow. And they only had 15 minutes to reach the king. And if they focused, they could make it to the king within 14 minutes. But if they got distracted once, they wouldn't make it towards the king. And this happened. And when an hour went past, the king said to his guards, okay, take everybody out now. And the king went, he threw everybody out, and only one person managed to make it to him by the time the 15 minutes were up. And the king said to him, you may stay in the kingdom now. And everybody else had to leave, and the one person stayed. And this is the symbolism for our existence. We get born, and God says, you can reach me in this life, but you just have to dive into your sadhana. You have to dive into this devotion. You have to dive into something beyond the distractions of the material existence. Then at the time of when the gates close and the soul leaves your body, you can come up to the kingdom. You can spend time and you can be with me eternally. But the choice is ours. What are we focused on? What are we doing, etc.? It's always our choice. And we should do as much as we can to purify ourselves, through sadhana, through meditation, through constant remembering of God, and manifesting these 26 divine qualities that Krishna talks about in chapter 16, verse 1 to 3. The 26 qualities are, he says, abhayam, fearlessness, sattva, samsuddhi, purity of heart, jnana yoga vyavishtati, steadiness in knowledge, dhanam, charity, dhammahacha, control of senses, yagnacha, sacrifice of the ego, swadaya, full knowledge of the shastras, tapaha, asceticism, arjavam, uprightness, ahimsa, non-violence, satyam, truthfulness, akrodha, absence of anger, tyaga, complete detachment, shantihi, tranquility, apaisunam, freedom from slandering, daya bhuttishu, merciful, compassionate to all, aloptavam, freedom from greed, Mardavam, gentleness, Hri, modesty, Akalpalam, determination, Tejaha, refulgence, Shama, forgiveness, Dritihi, strength, Salcham, purity, Adroha, freedom from malice, and Ati Manita, absence of pride. The one thing you have to realize is that spirituality is not airy-fairy. True spirituality, it's not airy-fairy. It's not ungroundedness. You're not floating. True spirituality is so centered. You are so grounded, so centered. You're actually more centered than material people. And you're manifesting the true consciousness of the divine. This morning when I woke up and I wrote the message and I said, greatness hasn't been through the people, great inventions or great knowledge or anything like that. Greatness and change in the world has come through people who have given charity love, this purity of divinity, like the saints. They are the ones who have changed the world. Religion itself hasn't changed the world. Religion itself is text. It's the ones who have come, who have shown the purity and the beauty of those, what's inside of there, the simplicity of it, you know. The bhaktas, for example, who worship Pandaringa, people speak of them more than the Shastras. They speak of their example. They try and emulate them. They try and be them in order to attain the divine. Let he who is without sin cast the first stone. It's one of the greatest verses in history. That itself, if you truly imbue that and take that on, then nobody should say anything to anybody else, in truth, But this has changed the world. This love, this charity, this compassion of the great saints has changed the world more than anything else. People look to that to emulate. Yeah. Because in chapter 16, verse 5, Krishna says, Devi Sampat Vimokshaya Nibanda Sura Mataha Masuchaha Sampadam Devam Abhijato Si Pandava. The divine qualities leads towards liberation. The asuric leads towards bondage. Yeah? Which is true. Greed leads to attachment. It's a downfall. Yeah? You're basically putting a gun to your head and pulling the trigger. And if we work backwards in verse 4 of chapter 16, before we get to verse 1 to 3, Krishna says, Dambo darpa vimanascha kroda parusham evacha agnanam chibajastya parta sampadam asurim. Pride, arrogance, excessive self-esteem, wrath, harshness, ignorance. These, O Partha, are the wealth of the man born into the asuric natures. So an asura is a demon, per se. They're very negative. For example, we watch Bhakta Prahlad, his father, Hiranyakashipu, was a demon, you can see. So there is Bhakta Prahlad at the age of 5 going, Narayan, Narayan, Narayan. And then you've got Hiranyakashipu saying, worship me, otherwise I'm going to kill you, even though you're my own son, That's the nature of an asura. This desire to always be at the front, always be important, always be there. Then narcissistic, narcissism is one of those natures. There's no love and humility inside of it, and this excessive self-esteem, this pride, this arrogance. They excessively praise themselves, sing their own glory. They're only truly about themselves, and they don't actually care about anybody else. They might be sweet to you just so that they can get something for you, but there's no sincerity, there's no love in it. So it's the sadhana that we are supposed to be doing, the Kriya Yoga, for example. It is so, so important, because Kriya is the action with the awareness of the divine. And if you have action with the awareness of the divine, do you think these qualities can manifest inside of you? They will come out like a purification like a vomiting of the asuric nature that has conditioned us in this life, and maybe are some scars from the past. But over time, that Kriya Yoga will purify you so that we get to a state where Krishna talks about in chapter 16, verse 1 to 3. There's a big difference now you'll hear. And I always talk about, I push really hard for the nature of our existence. Whenever we speak, etc., it's always about the qualities of how we exist. And it's not about, they say, fake it till make it. No. Faking it to make it leads you into a sense of delusion. Become the nature of a sattvic saint. Become the nature of a sattvic soul. The soul is pure. It's eternal. It is sattvic. You have to become this. Remember that is your true nature. There's no need to fake it till you make it. Faking it till you make it is hypocritical in a sense, because you are pretending to be something that you're not. And you tend to delude yourself into the existence that I'm getting there, I'm getting there, I'm getting there. So it's okay if I behave like this because I'm still growing. That's not the truth. If you're an idiot, you're an idiot. You have to own it, and you have to be willing to change it. You have to be willing to become a true devotee of the Supreme Lord. A true devotee, a true disciple who represents the Guru properly. You can't just talk about the Guru and, oh, it's so nice. Guruji, for example, over the last a few months or whatever, he has been hammering the nature of consciousness that people, they call themselves his devotees, exist with. You understand? Talking ill about each other, fighting with anger, jealousy, greed, I. And he's pushing because he's saying, look, I've given something so beautiful, but if you want to act like a Suras, you're not going to attain it. That's your choice at the end of the day. It's just a waste. But you're representing me, so you have to become the sattvic nature that you can become, you know? And people, they don't realize this. You have to purify yourself. You have to be conscious. Yeah. In chapter 16, verses 1 to 3, we spoke about it. Krishna says, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, Avayam Sattva Samsudihi Dhyana Yoga Vyastitaha Dhyanam Damascha Yagnascha Swadayastapa Arjavam Ahimsa Satyam Akrodaya Stvagaya Shantira Parshunam Daya Bhutava Shaloluptam Mardavam Hri Akapalam Tejaha Shama Drittihi Socham Adroha Natimanita Avanti Sampadam Devam Abhijatasya Bharata. The Lord says, fearlessness, purity of mind, consistent contemplation on wisdom, philanthropy, self-control, worship, study of the Vedas, self-discipline, forthrightness, non-injury, truthfulness, freedom from anger, renunciation, tranquility, freedom from slandering, compassion to all beings, freedom from hankering, gentleness, modesty, freedom from whimsicality, refulgence, forgiveness, fortitude, purity, freedom from spite and humility. These treasures, O Arjuna, belong to one who is born of the Deva sattvic nature. And it's funny because the verse 4, it gives like pride, arrogance, excessive self-esteem, wrath, harshness, and arrogance. It's like 6 things. And then the one born to the sattvic nature, there's 26 pieces to it, The one who has true knowledge of the self, whose mind is constantly absorbed in God consciousness. What is that? Kriya Yoga. Action with the awareness of the divine in every moment. They offer consistent worship to the Lord, They have respect for the elders. They have love for people and for the saints, because the saints are the reflection of the Lord. They are the carriers of the light of the Lord. And it's beautiful, Once a month we watch a saint movie. A saint is a saint. One has theosis, one has theosis. And the energy that you feel after watching that saint, I watched a saint movie last night where he was a doctor and he served the poor. He gave up marrying a princess to find this love, to be this love, and just serve poor. He gave away everything he had. He sold his possessions in his house because the people he was serving, they had nothing, We watched Philip Neri on the thing, and the guy and the cardinal says to Philip Neri, have these people fasted before they give confession? And he looks at the cardinal, he says, well, I don't think they have a problem with fasting, because they can't afford the food anyway, like just the mindset. And that is the beauty of a saint, they give this love, they give this consciousness to everybody. And we need to find this simplicity, this love in everything that we do, Otherwise, we're going to get lost. Sattva sumdhiti, purity of mind, No ill feelings towards other, no judgment. The mind is full of love and looking only towards the good. And such a mind doesn't have the I. It doesn't have the ego. It doesn't have the self-centeredness, The one, when we turn our mind inwards to the journey of the soul, so we can attain the Lord, that is the purity of mind. Consistent contemplation on wisdom, Wisdom is knowledge and action together. The wisdom that this material world is not going to leave you anywhere. At the end of it, you're going to die. Your soul's going to leave your body and you're going to start again. Wisdom says, do everything that you can to realize the self in this life. Contemplate on this true knowledge, the Satchitananda. Meditate consistently on what the scriptures show you, and the teachings show you, and the Kriya shows you, Babaji and Guruji have given you, you know. Be absorbed in this knowledge of the divine, this devotion, yeah, self-control and clarity, you know. They are selfless. They forget about themselves and they care for others regardless of who or how those people are, yeah. The charity is not fickle, you know. It emerges from the heart. When we walked around Sea Point doing charity and handing out food to the people who are homeless, there was nothing in it. We just gave with love, and the people were so grateful. And we had some beautiful conversations because they can feel that sincerity, you know. Study of the Vedas. Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita says, I am the Vedas. When you study the Vedas, you're actually studying Krishna himself. And the Vedas means you don't open the four Vedas, you know, the Rig, Yajurveda, etc. You start to understand Krishna himself. You start to have a relationship with Krishna Narayan. Yeah. Drink the nectar that is the Supreme. Yeah. Chanting of the mantras, remembering his leelas, remembering his name, self-discipline. Yeah. Discipline is very, very difficult for people, especially on the spiritual path. The material nature always pushes us to not be disciplined with our spiritual stuff. We have to be disciplined with what we're eating, what we're drinking, indulging ourselves, you know? Are we sitting down to meditate with the right consciousness? Are we sitting down to meditate with the right mindset, you know? Non-injury. So you don't harm. You never think of harming anyone with your actions or your thoughts. You know, when it's all narcissistic and ego, etc., the people aren't thinking of harming anybody, but they are harming people through their arrogance and their pride, you know. They don't care if somebody falls, you understand, which is an injury to others, you know. When people are negative, when you talk ill about people. There's a beautiful story of Buddha. And a guy came to him, he was yelling at him. Buddha was sitting under a tree meditating. The guy was yelling at Buddha, you're a baba. So after about half an hour, the guy yelling, Buddha opened his eyes. And he says, you know, when a guest comes to your house with a gift and you don't accept the gift, what happens to the gift? The person giving the gift takes it home. And just like that, I have not accepted what you have done for the last half an hour. So all of that anger, all of that negativity goes straight back to you. Blessings. You understand? The negative thoughts that people have towards us or speak, or if you speak negative, etc., travels around in the ether. And if you dive into it or accept it, you absorb it. If you don't, and you're just in the state of ahimsa, non-violence, and sattvic nature, where you're not bothered by any of it, it goes around and it goes straight back to the person who sent it, and they get it. Yeah. Do you dive into the nonsense? Or do you just float past it and allow whatever's happening to happen, but your focus is one with the Lord? Yeah. Truthfulness. One is absorbed in truth. Yeah. And it's not just about lying or telling things to please others. No, look, the truth is the truth, but you have to separate opinion from truth. Yeah. And that's a very big thing. Majority of the time, people are giving opinions, not the truth. Yeah. Truth is a very different thing, you know. If the table is red, for example, it's a truth. The table is red. Yeah. If it's your opinion that this is the way you can reach God or whatever, etc., it's your opinion. How we tell the truth to people is very different. You understand? The truth should be told with love. If I come to you and say, blah, 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 you're not going to accept the truth. The truth is you're going to be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You understand? If we give it with love, anything we give with love, how the other people accept it is up to them. If they reject it through their own issues, it's their own stuff. It's got nothing to do with us. You understand? We have to give love. And from there, people take what they want from it. They want to reject it or accept it, it's up to them. But if you come to them with aggression and stuff, of course, anybody just will step back and say, whoa, 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 whoa. That's why ahimsa, non-violence, this love, this compassion, you know, are the most important things. Freedom from anger, you know. There is no abuse between people. When we are centered in this Kriya Yoga, this action with the awareness of the divine in everything, you become calm-hearted. There's no need for anger. There's no need for violence. There's no need for any of that. And violence isn't punching somebody, anything. Violence is an emotional thing too, you know? Freedom from this anger, renunciation. Renunciation isn't giving up everything, you know? Renunciation is renouncing from the fact that you think you are the doer, yeah? You are not the doer. Krishna spoke of the Vishvarupam. He is everything. He is us, manifested. This body is not the doer. It is the Supreme Lord himself, yeah? One who has renunciation, they do everything in a state of calmness, tranquility, because they are surrendered to the Lord. They always remember that it is God himself doing it through them. Their mind is fully absorbed in God. Freedom from slandering, yeah? Krishna says a true devotee just walks away from talking rubbish or ill talk about others, you know? When one gossips, and the one who listens to the gossip, both people are cursed. The bhaktas don't gossip. They accept everything as the grace of God, whether they want it or not. You know, this is God's Leela. People must behave as they want. You just don't have to gossip about it. Focus on God. Focus on his love. Forget about the rest of it, yeah? Compassion for all beings. You have to have this ahimsa, non-violence inside of you. Freedom from hankering, yeah? You're not lusting for things. Yeah, you're not hankering after something. You allow God to manifest what he wants for you. Gentleness. Yeah. Freedom from whimsicality, you know. A bhakta is humble, and humility is the greatest treasure a bhakta has. And due to this humility, they don't judge or criticize anybody. Everybody always thinks they're right. Spread God's love. And there's no right or wrong in that. You understand? There's no I am greater than you. When you truly spread God's love, spirituality is the union with God. That is true spiritual path. Spread God's love. Yeah. The saint movies that we always watch, that is the consciousness, this humility, this love, this compassion, free from cruel anger, free from desire. That is what we have to become. That is who we need to be. Yeah. Through our Kriya, action with the awareness of the divine in every single moment, we can become that in this life. Lady Masai, Sri Yukteswar, Guruji, Paramahamsa Yogananda, all of the great saints, yeah, they have become this sattvic nature, this purity, this beautifulness. You know, if you truly want to make a change in the world and you truly want to give back to the world, this is the consciousness. Yeah, there's enough money in the world, there's enough all of that. Conscious divine beings who manifest these qualities is what God is asking us to be on the spiritual path. You know, the final chapter of the Gita, of the Bhagavatam for today, the final verse is, O Brahmins, the manifestation of the Lord are endless, like rivers flowing from inexhaustible sources of water. And it's very beautiful because God is always manifesting. You know, because he says in chapter 4, verse 8 of the Gita, he says, for the deliverance of the good, for the destruction of the evildoers, for the enthronement of the right, I shall manifest myself age after age. You know, we talk about the 10 Purna avatars, but there's so many incarnations of Sriman Narayan, there's so many incarnations of the divine. He's always with us. You know, do you want to have a relationship with the creator of the material existence, who came down into the form of the Purusha, Sriman Narayan, and from there manifested the material qualities? Or do you want to have a relationship with the material existence? The choice is yours at the end of the day, you know. That's the beauty of a true spiritual path. It's always your choice. It's your responsibility. You know, you have to have this focus. You have to have this determination inside of you. You have to have these qualities to become the greatest version of yourself you can in this life. The greatest version of yourself is realizing the purity and the eternal nature of the soul. And that choice is yours. Yeah, you can dive into the material existence, you can dive into the nature of an asura, or you can dive into the nature of one who's truthful, ahimsa, non-violence, sattvic in nature, who is a friend to everybody, who gives God's love to everybody. Yeah, you can become that, or you can become the other side of everything, and that's the beauty of the choice that we have, you know. And that's why actually these two verses, although they seem quite simple, they just talk about the Purusha and stuff. There's so much depth and love to it, but how God manifested so that we could become more beautiful.